or should I say his lack of choosing, had nothing to do with me. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It wasn't because I wasn't special. It wasn't because of any of the redeemable qualities that I possess. It wasn't none of that. And it wasn't because of anything negative concerning me. His choice was isolated to him and him alone. And when I realized that, I allowed the burden to lift off of me because his choice is not connected to my value. You have finally found your tribe. Welcome to the Road to Restoration podcast with Steve Saucer. It's episode 1. We about to jump right in. We about to walk on some water and try not to get wet. So go with me. Listen, we're going to jump right in. The theme today is through my eyes. Through my eyes. I want to talk about what fatherhood looked like through the eyes of a fatherless son. I'm very acquainted with, what I remember identifying as what a real man looks like, what a real father actually is, a father's role, a father's importance, or lack thereof. And so I'm going to talk about today through the eyes of a fatherless son. I want to try to dive into some of my earliest ideas of fatherhood that kind of shaped the hidden wounds and the silent struggles that not only myself, but I'm sure many of you have had to live through and overcome as well. If I can start, I'd like to start right at the beginning. Put your seatbelt on, or at least let me put my seatbelt on, because it's not a good memory. The first time that I realized that I was actually fatherless, I was about 6 or 7 years old. My mother had two kids, me and my little sister, my favorite blood sister of all blood sisters. And she had us too, but she had us 6 years apart. And I'm the oldest, and so for 6 years I was by myself, and I didn't have to worry about what would eventually be my reminder of the lack of father in my life. And so when my sister was born, there was this Jerry Curl, Jerry Curlian, let me call him that, a Jerry Curlian fella that used to come around and pick her up every now and then, every blue moon. He wasn't what I would consider today as an active father, but he was present. At least she knew who he was. And so every now and then he would come pick her up. And I remember one day, and I probably shouldn't even remember this. I was so young. I was literally 6 or 7 years old. She was just a baby. And I remember he came by, and he came by to pick her up. And, when he came in, my mama was getting her stuff together and getting her ready. And he was getting stuff together and putting stuff in a bag and, getting ready to take her wherever he had planned for that day. And while they were getting her stuff together, I took it upon myself, again, I'm a latchkey kid at that time, or for most of, uh, or at least up until that point, I had been the only child, so very independent, obviously, because my mama was superwoman, worked 3 and 4 jobs, and I was home alone at a very young age. And so I took it upon myself to start getting ready because, we about to go. We about to leave. We about to go somewhere. The Jerry Curlian has arrived. And it wasn't until my mama noticed that I was actually getting myself together. And, I was preparing for the journey. And she said, "Where you going?" And I remember vividly, like, "We about to go." She said, "No, you ain't going nowhere. Put your stuff back. You not going nowhere." And I was so dejected because I remember the feeling that I had, and that feeling was, that ain't fair. Why does she get to go, but I can't go? And it was sobering for me. Even then, um, I just remember feeling like it wasn't fair. And after they left, um, I remember, my mama had, kind of a brief conversation with me because she was hard. She was hard living in the world that she was living in. We was living in Arlington Courts in the projects, and so she was hard. She wasn't, one of these babying type parents. And she seen that my face wasn't right. A black mama know when your face ain't right, and she will tell you fix your face. And that's exactly what conversation we went on to have, a fix your face conversation. And she said, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Fix your face." And in that moment, that was the beginning of me learning how to smile through pain. And that was the first moment that I can remember where I had to learn how to be okay even when I wasn't okay. I had to be good when I wasn't good. I had to act like everything was, all well and fine when I was really kind of crumbling on the inside. And the way that I expressed that I was okay or that I was good is I expressed it with anger and frustration. What you mean? I'm good. I'm fine. And I, threw my little temper tantrum. I was a master at them. I threw my little temper tantrum, and I kind of went about my way. And the rest of it is a little blurry, but it was at that moment that I started to feel like every time he would come, I would feel like it's somebody to save everybody, but it ain't nobody to save me. And I remember vividly thinking that even as a little kid, I would think like it's somebody to save everybody. It's somebody to come get everybody, but ain't nobody to come and get me. And after that, I kind of normalized it because growing up in the projects, the truth is, my family structure was a very common family structure. So it's not like, I was the one kid in the neighborhood that didn't never get picked up by his pappy. That was probably a pretty common thing. I don't really remember too many men being involved in their children's lives that I could identify. Now, mind you, I'm a little boy, and obviously my vantage point is a little skewed. But as far as my memory is concerned, my family structure was pretty common, and so I normalized it, and it became something that was acceptable in my head. And so I would argue with myself when I would feel like it ain't fair, or when I would feel like I want to be mad, or I want to be angry, or I want to be sad. I would argue with myself that something must be wrong with me. Like, man, ain't stop acting like a girl. Stop being soft, and I would literally be having arguments in my mind. Um, and that realization that it's somebody to come save everybody, it's somebody to come get everybody, that realization kind of led to a constant and quiet reminder of a powerful assessment that I came to, that I now know was not true, but it was true to me. Feelings are a powerful thing. Feelings are such a powerful thing because it can be true that you feel a certain way, but just because it's true that that's how you feel, that doesn't mean how you feel is actually true. And that's kind of the place that I was in. There was a constant, quiet reminder that never really allowed me to get away from that frustration, that anger, or that feeling of unfairness happening to me. And that assessment was that I wasn't chosen. I felt like I wasn't good enough to be anybody's choice. And you got to bear with me. It's a little heavy. Can I take a sip of this Jesus juice? You got to bear with me when I talk about this because I've kind of normalized talking about my situation, talking it out, being transparent about it. But that doesn't mean that that every time I take that road and I travel that conversation, that the road is without bumps, and it's not bruising. But the truth is, I'm the product of a of a young girl, young naive girl, being taken advantage of by an older man. And I'm not talking about, anything criminal that I'm aware of. I'm not talking about rape or anything like that that I'm aware of. I'm more talking about just, how an older man, an older boy, I don't know, has the ability to manipulate circumstances, where they get out of that circumstance what they want. Um, and the truth is, they always leave an out, so that when they're ready to quit, when they're ready to move on, they can do it without a trace. And so, that's the reality. That I had to live with that reality. I'm the product of that. Um, and being the product of that, I kind of rehearsed how it must have went, because the only thing that I do know is that the name that my mama knew him by was a fake name. And if it was a hood name, it wasn't a hood name that everybody else knew him by. Um, and as soon as he heard about me coming, he disappeared. It was over. He was well, like we used to say, he was Audi 5,000. And so you could imagine that you know having those kind of thoughts as a child, an underdeveloped mind, not knowing how to really process things properly. You could imagine how it could be damaging. I would literally have thoughts, and I would imagine that my daddy was somewhere watching us struggle. And for some reason, he watched us struggle and didn't care enough to stop it. Like we were poor. I tell people, I laugh about it. I'm a pastor too at this point in my life, and I tell my church, when I talk about my childhood, I tell them I was a little bad, little dirty kid. And yeah, that was my story. I was a little bad, little dirty kid, little bad, little hood kid. And I ain't bad and dirty no more, but that was my reality back then. And we didn't have we didn't have a car, we didn't have none of that. I used to literally think that if you had a house with an upstairs and a driveway, that you was rich. Like that gives you the quality of my assessment of wealth and what life should be. I literally thought, and I'm not exaggerating, I can remember riding through certain neighborhoods that I ride through periodically now, because I'm a son of the city. I'm a son of Dayton, Ohio. That's where I'm from. And sometime I ride through those same neighborhoods, and I'm like, man, I cannot believe that I literally thought this was like a rich neighborhood, but I really did. I thought it was a rich neighborhood. And so we struggled. We struggled. And so when it was time to do grocery shopping, because we had that mighty book. And some of y'all might know about that mighty book. We had that mighty book with them, pieces of paper that kind of look like money, but they different colors. Some people call them food stamps. We had that mighty book. And when that mighty book would come out, we would get an opportunity to go grocery shopping, but we didn't have a car, and we didn't really have access to people who would run us here, there, or everywhere. And if we did, my mama was hard. She's a survivor. She's not the kind of person that's going, she's not the kind of person that's going to ask everybody or anybody really for help. So we jumping on the bus, and it was my mama and me. And I'm uh, at my peak when I was a physical specimen in the Marine Corps, no socks and shoes, with a short haircut. I was 5'5". That was me at my peak. I'm 46 now, so I might have shrunk a little bit, but 5'5" then. So you could imagine at 6, I was a little bitty thing, right? 5, I was a little bitty thing, right? So we got to catch 2 or 3 buses one way, and do the grocery shopping. Then we got to catch 2 or 3 buses back home. Now it's just me and my mama. She wasn't a big person either. So it's us two, little bitty boy, the bag about big as me. And I got bags on both of my arms. I just got 3, 4 bags on both of my arms, as long as I can hold them up. Some of the bags is dragging. We dragging. It's embarrassing. We trying to get on the bus, and we trying to get on the bus, and stuff fall out the bag, and I'm grabbing stuff out the bag, and my mama hold most of the bags, and and I'm trying to help her, and I'm trying to be the man. I'm the man of the house at 6, 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm the man of the house, so I'm trying to be the man, and I'm trying to help my mama, and we on the bus, and we got all these bags, and the bus is packed, and so we got to find somewhere to sit, and then we got to put the bag somewhere, and I gotta be looking around and making sure don't nobody think they can steal nothing out of our bag, because I'm the man of the house, and I'm gonna protect these apples because we ain't had no real food in a while. And hallelujah. And let me take a sip of this Jesus juice, because I feel the rage bubbling up. I'm looking around the bus. Bet nobody stick their hand in one of these bags. But in all honesty and in all truthfulness, it was hard. It was hard. It was embarrassing. We was dragging bags. I'm dragging bags. Sometimes I dragged the bag so much, the bag a bus. And I used to imagine that my daddy was somewhere watching us struggle. He just didn't care enough to do nothing about it. I remember when, my mama worked 3, 4 jobs, long as I can remember, 3 or 4 jobs. And it's affected her health to at this point, because of that level of sacrifice that she put in, to make sure that we at least had shelter. That's the one thing I can say. I only lived in 2 places my whole childhood, and not everybody that grew up like me can say that. We at least had stability when it comes to shelter. I lived in Arlington Courts, and then I lived on Stewart Street. And them the only 2 places that I lived. Now, we always had that shelter. But we might not have no lights, and if we got lights, we probably ain't got water. If we do got water, and it's in the wintertime, we definitely ain't got no heat. And so we were kind of just surviving, and survival mode became normal for me. And I would imagine when our lights was out, and we walking around with candles. I used to imagine that he was out there somewhere looking through the window, witnessing us struggle, and just didn't do nothing about it. And it would make me so angry. I developed a hatred for a man that I had never met. I developed such a bitterness, such a hatred, such a violence for a man that I had never met. And I used to literally say, even out loud, if I ever meet my daddy, I'm gonna kill him. This is the kind of hatred that I would develop for him. And that's a very common place that a lot of young boys come to when they've had to be what they're not capable of. You know, because when you grow up in that kind of a family structure, it's common for the little boy to be told, you the man of the house. Make sure you take care of your mama. Make sure you take care of your siblings if you got siblings, especially if you're the oldest, like I was. It's a very common thing for us to feel like, or even be made to feel like, we're the man of the house, and we're the protectors, and we got to do what the man should do, or would have done if they were here. And so, the fact that I was attempting to do, with very little, in honesty, with very little success, in the grand scheme of it all. The fact that I was attempting to do what he was supposed to do made me feel like I was just as much of a man as any other man I could see. And I developed a hatred for him, and I developed a resistance and a rebellion to every other man. And it was in my mind, I'm a man like you a man, and I was really a little boy. And so you can imagine all of the trouble that that kind of a mentality got me into. Um, but this is the road to restoration, and I want to, if I want to pivot a little bit, and talk about the way that I not only survived that period of survival, but as a man, how I evolved to see things so much differently. Number one, first of all, I had to realize that I was harboring hatred for a man that I didn't even know. I was harboring hatred for a man that I had no idea of what his situation was. I don't know if he was alive. I don't know if he, yeah, I don't know if he did. I don't know if, something happened to him. I have no clue. And I can imagine all of the possible scenarios around the potential. Um, but the truth is, I don't know him, but I was harboring hatred for him. And that's important because as long as I internalized that, I eventually learned, but it took me well into my adulthood to learn this. I eventually learned that me internalizing hate for him didn't really hurt him, but it definitely hurt me because that hatred showed up with it showed up or expressed itself in uncontrollable anger. It expressed itself in uncontrollable rage. It expressed itself in ways that caused me to end up in prison. It expressed itself in ways that caused me to end up, alcoholic, uh, you know, uh, 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 you know, committing myself, becoming addicted to not only drugs and things, but becoming addicted to certain mentalities. Um, and so I had to learn that if I want to really be whole, I've got to stop internalizing um, and displacing feelings and emotions that don't deserve to be a part of my life. He hasn't been a part of my life enough to deserve the emotions and the imagination and the space in my mind that I gave him. He don't deserve that. You follow me? And I had to learn, instead of internalizing that toward him, I've got to internalize what I believe is productive for me. And I'm talking now, and I'm not talking like this was I learned, I one day I woke up at 11 years old. No, I lived my entire childhood wrestling with these silent struggles and these invisible wounds, and not only my childhood, a good portion of my adult life. I carried those invisible wounds and those silent struggles everywhere that I went. But as a man, I realized I would feel like I wasn't his choice, or I would feel like, I'm sorry, let me say it better. I would feel like I wasn't chosen. That's how I would feel. Like I wasn't good enough to be chosen. Like everybody else was chosen but me. And so because of that, maybe there was something wrong with me. Why wouldn't he want to know me or be involved with my life and the thing? I'm a pretty nice guy. I got, I got some stuff going for me. People like me. People love me. Like, why you don't want to, be involved at all? And so I felt like I wasn't chosen. But I had to realize as a man that I'm sorry, his choice had nothing to do with me. Or should I say his lack of choosing had nothing to do with me. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It wasn't because I wasn't special. It wasn't because of any of the redeemable qualities that I possess. It wasn't none of that. And it wasn't because of anything negative concerning me. His choice was isolated to him and him alone. And when I realized that, I allowed the burden to lift off of me because his choice is not connected to my value. And that's what I had to learn as a man. His choice was not connected to my value. And I'll even add this, you know, um, when I look back over my life as a man now, you know, after having done some of the work necessary to be whole and to be restored, because restoration is not a destination, it's a journey. You don't ever reach it one day. You just continue to get closer and closer to the best version of yourself, if you continue to pursue that. But I learned this, that I was chosen. I was chosen, and I have been chosen to this day. I was chosen then, and I have been chosen. I am chosen now. But I learned it as an adult. When I talk about the fact that I was chosen, first of all, I used to say something all the time. You say, I come from nothing. And I know, many of you may have heard that before, maybe even said it before. I used to say it all the time. I come from nothing. So I ain't even supposed to be here right now. But that's a lie. I do come from something. My mama is something. She is a valuable asset to the man that I've become. And the rest of my family on my mother's side, them is wonderful people. I come from something. Matter of fact, even if we want to go beyond that, I come from the mind of God. I was purposed and created with intentionality. I come from something. I was chosen by the people who made the choice. And not only was I chosen, I am being chosen. I struggle with that father thing and that fatherless thing. And I can't say that I don't struggle with some elements of it today. But what I do know is that there have been men strategically placed in my life down through the years at monumental moments to save my life. I can talk about Marlon Shackelford, a community activist, one of the greatest men I knew, snatched me up when I was 10, 11 years old, seen me going in the wrong direction and made sure that he poured into me so that I could become the person I am today. And I honor him to this day. But today, I have a pastor, my pastor, Bishop Gates, one of the greatest men I know, one of the most honorable men I know. He has a ministry that is so vast that it would make sense if he didn't want to pour into me. It would make sense if he didn't have time for me. It would make sense if he didn't make space for me in his life. But he chose to do those things. And so, what I had to learn as a man is to stop focusing on the things we believe are missing and start being intentional about recognizing the things that are actually there. I realized it, and I want to say it for me, and I want to say it for you. I look back over my life and I realize I'm special because I survived things that people committed suicide for less. I survived circumstances every day that people committed suicide for less. So I'm special, and I've been chosen by God. He just didn't know it, so he didn't make the right choice. But I want to leave you with this as we close episode 1. God will never hold you accountable for what somebody does to you. He will always hold you accountable for how you respond to it. And so instead of us making a big fuss about what somebody did or did not do, let's make a big fuss about how we master the art of the response. Listen, join the journey. Come on this journey with me. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, I want you to follow, invest in yourself and become a part of our Patreon tribe. And I believe it'll bless you. I believe it'll add value to you. And we're going to take this journey together. The greatest journey that's ever been taken always started with the first step. Be restored.